I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'm a live at the death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'm a live at the death. Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm excited for today's call. We talk about how dialing is the number one skill and the number one discipline that agents lack. So, we call it the number one epidemic, the number one epidemic in the FFL business model in the insurance business. And it's the number one reason why new agents, they fail in this business. It's the number one skill and the number one discipline that agents, who aren't finding success lack. And I think this is, and not even just I know this is the most important skill to develop if you want to make it long-term in this business or really any sales business. So the number one skill, again, dialing the phone. I'm sure that, some of y'all are hearing this and you're rolling your eyes going, all we ever talk about is dialing the phone. I joined this call so that I could learn, the different secrets of success, not just the different disciplines to, dialing the phone. I want to figure out, what the secret sauce is. And I need people to know that this is the secret sauce. People want to know, how do I shortcut helping, 30 families a month? They want to know, how do I buy 15 leads and book 15 appointments? And how do I get off the phone in 2 hours and have 0 no-shows and sell all 15 appointments that I talk to? If that was the training that you're looking for, you can log off right now, because it's not that simple, but it is simple and mundane tasks that are going to be the ones that are making you the most money here in this business. So we all know that there's only 3 basics when it comes to skills that you can learn in Family First Life and selling insurance in general. Number 1 is going to be buying leads. Number 2 is going to be dialing the phone. And number 3 is going to be talking to people about insurance. And all the time, agents, they tell me, hey, I want to figure out, what are the best leads to dial? The ones where everybody says yes, the ones where everyone says, come on over, the ones where everybody answers the phone on the first dial, the ones where everyone's interested, there's no objections, and the ones where I only have to spend a few $100s to absolutely fill my schedule for the entire week. What kind of leads are those? Those leads don't exist. I want y'all to understand that a lead is a lead is a lead is a lead. And we'll dig into some different lead type stuff tonight. But what type of lead, it makes no difference. The other things that agents say to me is they say, I feel like if I just improved my closing ratio, if I improved my closing ratio and I learned all the right things to say during the presentation, then I'd have a better return on my investment and I'd be more successful. And honestly, I would argue to say that anybody who does this long enough, you can close 2 or 3 out of 10 appointments that you talk to. But the issue for most people is not their closing ratio. It's that they aren't talking to enough people. They'll go and they'll talk to 3 and they'll close 1, and then they're mad because their commissions for the week wasn't very much. I'm like, but dude, if you just talk to 10, you close 3 instead of 1, the numbers are still the exact same. So people will ask advice on, how to improve their presentation, but it's really not what they need help with. We improve our closing ratio by just talking to more people in a short period of time. We condense the learning curve and we leapfrog others when we run a lot of appointments in a short period of time. And if you and me are in a competition to sell the most premium in a week, some of you might say, there's absolutely no way I could beat Jamie. He's a Hall of Fame producer. He regularly helps 10 families a week. But the way that you can beat me is by outworking me. You can make up in numbers what you lack in skill. So you decide, you're going to book 15 to 20 appointments per dial day, or you're going to dial the phone until you get 10 telesale presentations, regardless of how long it takes. And here's the coolest thing is that if you do that over the course of a few weeks without wavering on your commitment to your appointment count or your presentation count, your closing ratio will drastically improve and you'll increase your return on investment. So really everything in this business, it comes down to the phones. I called it the number one epidemic. Can't even say epidemic. I called it the number one epidemic in this business for a reason. People, they constantly say, I love selling insurance, but I hate dial day. I love this business, but I hate the phones. I wish that I could just have a bunch of appointments booked for me because I love the presentation part. I just can't focus. I can't sit down in my chair long enough. I've heard every single excuse. And I think just as agents, we try to find a way to avoid the work. We try to find the shortcuts. And I'm telling you that right now, the only way to make it in this business is through the work. And it's not just doing the work, it's falling in love with the work. There's this very popular guy on YouTube and Instagram. He got really popular last year, Alex Hormozy. He's a multi-billionaire. He scaled the business from one guy selling, some sort of a course to a gym to $85 million in revenue in like 6 years. And then it's blown up from there. And there's this really famous post that he had where he talked about how he wanted to work so hard so he could get to this level of passive income. And that's why a lot of people join these types of opportunities. They want to get to passive income where they don't have to do any work anymore. And in my previous background, building network marketing, digital marketing businesses, I did build up to a passive income, and that passive income took me to a place where I didn't have to do much work. So I personally had a really hard time sitting down, dialing and doing the dirty work and getting in the trenches, protecting families. And, Alex talked about how he had this business. He built it up to this massive passive income very fast. And then he just kind of found himself sitting around, contemplating the meaning of life, and he was miserable. So instead of glorifying this idea of passive income, because a lot of us get there and we're miserable, why aren't we glorifying active income? Okay. Active income is the kind that we work for every single day. It's more fun. It's more satisfying. We need to grow as a person. I think about, the idea of, we talk about, selling versus recruiting. We say selling's like hunting and recruiting is like, planting a farm. One feeds you faster and one feeds you longer. And at the end of the day, farming is amazing. We should all do it. We should all work towards passive income because we want to get something that's going to last us for generations. But when you're just farming, like, you start to miss the hunt, you started to miss it. So for me, I realized that I would just never stop, going out there and bringing meat home for my family. It's instant gratification. It's super satisfying. So basically he said, let's make, active income cool, rather than let's glorify passive income. Let's make active income cool again. And there's no better way to make active income than selling insurance with Family First Life. So let's dig in a little bit here, guys. I also want to read off for you guys a post that I made on Facebook last year in our FFL America group. I just want to read it for you guys. This was all about dialing and kind of what happened to me, I think, over the course of a weekend or something like that. So let's go ahead and read it. I said, the only difference between someone who's producing at a high level and somebody who isn't is the fact that they believe in themselves and the skill that they've developed enough to buy leads every week. More leads equals more appointments. More appointments in a short period of time equals shortening the learning curve. Shortening the learning curve, you gain confidence in what we do, and you can learn how to make money at will. Take away everything that I have, give me $1,000, and I have the confidence to bet on myself that I can turn that around and flip it into 4 to 7 policies minimum. And if you're not confident enough to bet on yourself, you simply haven't run enough appointments. You just need to get over the hump of the learning curve, and then this business is so much fun. It's just math. How many leads do I need to buy to get 30 appointments to sit on 20 to sell 10? That's it. If you could go from spending $1 to returning $2 or $3 to spending $1 to returning $7 to $10, wouldn't you be willing to do literally anything to learn that skill set? If you could buy 100 leads and even just sell 1 to break even. Guys, I think that if you can't sell 1, if you can't believe in yourself enough to sell 1 and reinvest it to try again next week, then maybe this business isn't the right fit for you. Do the work, gain the confidence, bet on yourself every week. 100 to 150 leads per dial day is the magic formula. 30 appointments a week, you can't fail. I believe anyone can do this, but do you believe that you can do this? You're one decision away from getting through the hard part and climbing that hill to never have to worry about making money again. When you have the confidence and the skill set, the question is not how do I make money? It's how much money do I want to make and how hard am I willing to work? And that was a post that I made maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and it still rings true today. So I think that anybody on this call, not on this call, anybody who's found some success here selling insurance, you realize that all leads are good leads. It doesn't matter what their level of intent is. All leads are good leads. I think what it really comes down to, and this is going to be the hard pill for most of y'all to swallow, it comes down to personal responsibility. Okay. But people say, but Jamie, what do you mean by personal responsibility? I can't control the people on the other side of the phone. If they're in a bad mood or if they're mean to me, I can't control if they fill out the request, if they're looking for a quote, if they're mad because their phone's blowing up with telemarketers, or if they really want to buy insurance today. But what you can control is you can control if you get better on the phone. and we can control the story that we tell ourselves about the leads. The story that we tell ourselves is powerful. The person who you're talking to, they did fill out the form. And some of y'all, you start to believe the BS story that you tell yourself, that the leads actually aren't interested, that they didn't actually fill it out. And when you start telling yourself that story, you're going down a slippery slope, and you're on your way out of this business if you believe that story long enough. So personal responsibility is that it's not the leads, it's me, it's you. What is the common denominator of all the phone calls that we make? It's us. Only we can get better. It's not the leads, it's you. It's you. We have to take personal responsibility for everything and understand that every person who says no, every single person who says I'm not interested, every person that says I've got it taken care of, hey, F off, or whatever they say, it's not them, it's us. Because if you gave the same stack of leads to somebody else, I guarantee you somebody else could help them. So for me, for all of you guys this year, it should be all about personal responsibility. You know, hey, I'm responsible for the action that I take. I'm responsible for my emotional response to the results, whether they're good or bad. I'm responsible for getting better. I'm responsible for never blaming the clients for my lack of ability to connect with them and help them. That's the mindset that we have to have. And secondly, you know, we have to have the mindset that it's just a numbers game. And I really don't need every single person to say yes. But the more swings that I have, the better chances I have of booking up my schedule, of having all of my appointments. And I think it's also important to note that if everybody who filled this thing out, if they all bought insurance, they wouldn't be called leads. They'd be called sales. And everyone would do this. These are leads, and leads we have to work. And I believe that leads are still 100% better than convincing your friends and family and going out and trying to cold prospect people to get them interested in buying from you. It's 100% better. So now that we've agreed that we have to have the proper mindset around the leads, if you understand that, then you understand it's just the work. Some people are willing to put in the work to get better, and some people are not willing to put in the work to get better. That's as simple as it is. If you were to give me two people, I would take the person who is horrible on the phones, who's willing to dial the phone 700 to 1,000 times to get better, over the person who's great on the phone, but gets bored after 50 dials, or feels like they're too good to put in the work. They feel like they're above it. This business, it's skill or it's will. I would take the person with the willpower over the person with the skill any day, because we can coach that person and we can make them a champion in this business. On the other hand, a prima donna that isn't willing to work with a bad attitude, nobody can coach that. I don't care how good you are. So the last couple of things I want to talk about, guys, I want to talk about a script opener that I use to dial internet leads. It's been a game changer for a lot of us. A lot of you guys have heard me on live dials when we talk about booking an appointment with a pissed off internet lead by calling out the fact that their phone is blowing up, calling out the elephant in the room. We already know it. I'm going to call it out before they even say it. So for a long time, it's worked really well. I found myself, somebody would say, hey, I'm not interested. Hey, are you not interested because you're actually not interested, or because your phone's blown up with telemarketers? And the problem with that was I was having clients, they were hanging up before I could even get to that point. So rather than that, now, I'm calling and I'm letting them know, basically I'm putting it all out there up front. So I'll give you guys an example. So, hey, Bob, this is Jamie calling in regards to the request that you sent into my office about the life insurance here in Lynn County. You sent it in and then your phone started blowing up with telemarketers. Hey, I'm sure that's super annoying, overwhelming. I'm actually the local manager here calling to apologize. My job is to get that information out there to you like you requested before your phone started blowing up. And I'm going to try to get those phone calls to stop. It'll take about 5 or 10 minutes. Do me a favor, go grab a pen. And if they go grab the pen, you're in the appointment. And I can't even begin to tell you how much my booking ratio and my sitting ratio with people has gone up since I started doing that. And I even do it with mortgage leads as well. Mortgage leads, they get a dozen postcards. Hey, Bob, this is Jamie calling in regards to that postcard you sent into my office. I know that you probably got about a dozen of them. I'm calling it out there so they don't have to call it out. I'm putting out the objection before they can put it out. I'm calling out the BS before they bring it up because it reduces sales pressure, and it's been absolutely working. So if you're getting your butt kicked on internet leads, especially, give that a try. If it's a 1 or a 3-month-old lead, same thing. Hey, when you filled out this form like a month ago, your phone started blowing up, and I'm sure it was super annoying. Now that those phone calls have calmed down, the manager calling to apologize to get you that info for that quote. Really simple. So learning how to dial internet leads, learning how to book 15 to 20 appointments on a dial day, it's a superpower. If you can book these leads and take an interested person who's upset that their phone is blowing up and learn how to reduce that sales pressure and still help the client, it's the greatest skill set in the world, and you'll be able to dial any lead. So that brings me to my most important, message here of this call, that the most important thing that you can do, that you can add into your business, is to join live dials and to participate. There's a few different types of people who join live dials. There's the person who just joins to listen and learn. This is great if you're still going through boot camp, you're getting started. You have a headphone in while you're working out in the morning before you start dialing. You're listening, you're learning, and you're contemplating, what's happening. But if you have the ability to dial, you're not just sitting there listening all the time, because if you're doing that, you won't learn anything until you apply something. The next person is the person who joins in on dials, but they have their camera off. I understand you might be self-conscious. You don't want to have your camera on, but when you dial with your camera off, the only person that it hurts is you. Camera on is simple accountability. I could be sitting in my PJs watching Netflix on the phone, with a bowl of cereal, watching live dials on my computer in the background, and I definitely don't want my camera on if that's me. But the camera on is, simple accountability for yourself, because if the camera's on, you're typically at least working because people are watching you. Next is the person who joins live dials. They have their camera on, they work, but they're afraid to unmute. They never unmute. This person will struggle and struggle and struggle, because even if they do their 700 dials, if they never receive any feedback, they can't get better. And then there's the person who joins live dials. They have their camera on. When they get an answer, as long as no one else is dialing, they unmute. They do it as often as possible, even if no one's listening. But what dialing unmuted does, it does something crazy to you, and it makes you fight so much harder for your appointments. And believe it or not, guys, I was terrified of dialing live. And before I ever did it, I don't think I ever had a 20 family month until I started dialing live. And once I started dialing live, I started consistently doing 40 to 50 families personally every single month. It was really uncomfortable at first, because I knew the only reason I had success in the past was because I was willing to hammer the phones. I was willing to make up in numbers what I lacked in skill. I'd dial the phone 700, 1,000 times if that's what it took to get my appointments, and I would still put the numbers in my favor. But then when I started dialing live, I started to get better, and my skill set started to help me. And I started to book the ones that you should book that most people wouldn't book, because there was objections. And because I learned how to overcome those objections, get good on the phones, it changed everything for me. So you can continue to struggle. You can continue to try to figure this out by yourself, but all that you're going to do is hold yourself back 6 to 12 months of learning curve that you could have skipped just by dialing live all day for like 2 dial sessions. The feedback that you can receive in a matter of a few dial sessions can change the way you dial and your mindset behind dial day. I personally went from hating dial day to loving dial day, because I get to dial live. I get to wake up every dial day and wonder, what crazy thing is a lead going to say to me today? And how am I going to respond? And how is it going to be so much fun? You start to learn how to have fun with the work, and you have to get committed to getting better. This means printing out a script if that's what you need to do. It means reading it over and over and over again. It means staring yourself in the mirror and giving yourself a presentation if that's what you have to do, until you don't stumble through it. It means calling your manager and asking to role play overcoming objections. It means recording yourself dialing live if you're too afraid to dial unmuted, and sending it to your manager for feedback. It means dialing live and asking, what could I have done better when you didn't book the appointment, when you weren't able to get someone to go grab the pen? It just means getting better every day, and the commitment to that. That's it. And if you just made the decision that you're truly going to be like a beast and a savage on the phones, then a lead is a lead is a lead is a lead. And it won't matter if it's an internet lead. It won't matter if it's a 10-year-old mortgage lead. It won't matter if it's a brand new direct mail lead that's $100 a piece. The discipline of dialing the phone and the skill set can be developed with consistency, and it's worth hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. And to prove it, all of my production this last week has been off internet leads, old Facebook leads, and I think I had one mortgage lead. I bought those leads just to prove that it doesn't matter about the lead. Some of my biggest policies came from Facebook final expense leads, and those are the ones that people say are really hard to work. So if you're not willing to commit to getting uncomfortable, to learning this skill set now and learning it quickly, there's going to be people coming into the business tomorrow that will commit to learning all of these things. They will unmute and they're going to leapfrog you. They're going to leapfrog everybody who does, they're going to leapfrog everybody by 6 to 12 months and leave them in the dust behind them because they were willing to figure it out. And you were still trying to figure it out on your own. So I've seen people who have figured it out on their own. It always takes longer. And to be completely honest, only a small percentage of people ever figured out on their own, because that larger percentage, they quit before they ever figure it out. You are personally probably 2 to 3 months away from being out of this business for good and quitting if you don't commit to just being the best dialer on the team. Ask yourself the question, how much money is being shy and comfortable costing you? That's a serious question. How much money is being shy and comfortable with your camera off? How much money is that costing you? All it takes is a few days of being uncomfortable, a few days of just jumping in and learning a skill set. And if you learn the skill set, you wouldn't even believe how much freedom is on the other side. The ability to make money at will. We all say it all the time, but it is possible. It's possible for you to learn this skill set, but you have to make the decision to commit yourself that you're going to do the work, because no one's going to do the work for you. And I'm sorry to say this, but nobody is coming to save you. You have to save yourself in this business. You have to develop the one skill, and every other skill in this business will fall like dominoes. The skill not only develops knowing what to say, how to say it, when to say it, but it develops something in your mind. It gives you thick skin. It helps you go from being a blamer to somebody who takes 100% responsibility for everything. This one skill set, the discipline that will help you change everything and will help you find more success than you could ever imagine here at FFL. But most people, they won't commit, and that's okay. Because even if one person on this call tonight has that light bulb moment, then this call is worth it. All the scripts, all the tools, the podcasts, the resources, they're available to you. But if you don't apply this knowledge, it's wasted. I believe that everybody on this call, probably got something out of this, but I know there's one person on here that had the light bulb go off, and I can't wait to find out who it is. So guys, I appreciate you. I hope you took something away from this. I know that you can learn this. I know that it will change everything for you if you do learn this. I hope everybody has an absolutely amazing night. I will see you on the next live dial session. You guys got this. Talk to y'all soon. Bye, guys.